here. I appreciate Pastor Scott for letting me come out and share my story with y'all. Just to introduce myself a little bit, my name is Chris Williams. I'm an associate pastor at a church here in Cyprus called A House of Hope. It's my wonderful wife, Rita, and my two sons, Nicholas, up there. And what I do for a living is I go across the country and I tell people my story, things that happen in my life. I'm not special in that more has happened to me or that I'm all that or that I know it all. The Lord has just given me an opportunity to share things that's happened in my life. And so hopefully tonight, as I share with you just a little piece of my life, that you'll be able to pull something out of this and put it in your life wherever it may fit. Some of the pieces may fit, some of the pieces may not fit. But I found out something over the course of me doing this, that something is said every time that you can take and put in your life. No matter where we come from, there are some similarities in our life. And that is that we go through things sometimes, whether they're big things, small things, wide things, skinny things, it doesn't matter. We all go through stuff, and sometimes what it takes is somebody sharing a little part of their life to help you know that, hey, what you may be going through is all right. You can get through it, you can make it. My story starts like this. I'm a little small town boy, was raised in a town called Silsbee, Texas, 7,000 people, nothing like Houston, real small town, one of those one red light towns. You drive through that mud, you blink, you done missed it. And I was raised there, ended up coming to Houston in 1995 to go to school out at Prairie View. Now the interesting thing about my life was that growing up as a kid, I was a PK. Y'all know what a PK is? We're a preacher's kid. All right, so I was brought up in a family of preacher's kid, didn't do a lot of stuff, but I tried my best to get in as much trouble as I possibly could. Well, some of those things led me into some stuff I wouldn't call out of the ordinary, but yeah, I smoked my part of dope, I sold my little part of drugs, I tried to do what I wanted to do, had a lot of sex, went to a lot of parties, did some stuff. Nothing really unnormal about that as a teenager coming up. But something interesting happened in my life when I got down here to Houston, because I had sworn myself, the neighborhood that I lived in, it wasn't bad, but I knew some people, knew crack addicts, knew all of that stuff, knew those stories. And I swore in my life that I wasn't going to let some things happen to me. One of the things that I wasn't going to let happen to me was I was going to be a big drug user. Not blacks, not sweets, I mean the heavy stuff, cocaine, crack, stuff like that. But when I got to college, something happened. And my story picks up on the back of a toilet seat in a 2-bedroom apartment in a little old bathroom about as big as these 4 squares right here, it seemed like, little old tight space. And I remember one night that I was straddling this toilet seat in this little bathroom, smelling like mildew, smelling like piss, smelling like crap, all of these fumes, everything that a bathroom could be, where 2 guys were sharing it in this apartment. And I remember sitting on that toilet, straddling in the toilet, and in front of me, this guy that was a PK, this guy that was brought up in this home where people had expectations for his life, things thought they were going to work out. I was one of the first guys in my family that considered going to college and trying to do something with my life and down that route. And here I was on this toilet, and on the back of this toilet seat, there were 3 fat lines of cocaine. And I remember sitting on the back of that toilet seat. In one hand, I had the razor blade, in the other hand, I had the straw. And I really don't know how I learned how to do this, whether I picked it up from TV or whether it was just something on the inside of me that knew how to destroy my potential. I think it was the latter. I think something rose up in me that didn't care about the person that I was, didn't care about my future, didn't care about my potential, didn't care about my purpose. And that thing rose up in me and told me to do some things that I didn't need to do. So I'm here on the back of this toilet seat with 3 fat lines of cocaine. They all lined up, they all chopped up, they all lined up. And I remember sitting on the back of that toilet seat, 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines by myself. This boy who said I would never let nothing like this happen to me in my life. I get a little emotional when I think about it sometimes, because the story is that I started right here behind the world, that I end up over here on the back of a toilet seat with cocaine going into my system. Now the thing about that is that testimonial, that part of my life may not sit with you, but the thing that I found out a lot of times is that in life, sometimes that trail from you starting one place and getting somewhere where you don't really understand what's happening in your life, you don't understand why you're here at this point in your life, sometimes that road is unclear. You don't understand how you got there, and it could be small things. My deal was drugs. But for others, it could be, I started with a dream to be something, and then I look at my life and I hadn't accomplished everything that I wanted to accomplish. Or maybe I started on this trek in life, and somewhere in there, life happened, and I ended up somewhere with 2 kids, you know, and a dog in a house or something, and I had dreams of being in the NFL or the NBA or whatever it is that may happen in your life. And I'm reminded of a story in the Bible over there in Luke chapter 15, where it talks about a guy, we call him the prodigal son. And the thing about this dude was this, is that he had an inheritance from his father that his father wanted to give him. But he chose in his life to take his inheritance quickly. I liken that to purpose. He took what was meant for him and decided that I'm not going to let it mature, I'm not going to let it come at the right time, but I want to go ahead and get it. And I call that purpose, because in our life, we all have purpose. We've been put on this earth for something. And this guy took his inheritance, and he decided, he told his father, hey, father, this is what I want to do. I want to take what's mine already, then I want to get out there, and I'm just going to live life. He took his inheritance, ran out there, and started doing the things that he thought was right to do. He started partying, he started hooking up with people, doing his thing, and then a short time later, he found out that his inheritance had been spent, and he didn't have anything. Well, while he was out there, he sat out there and looked around and was broke. And the scripture says that he hooked up with some people that was in that land. And when he was there in the land, they hooked up with him, and the next thing you know, this rich guy who had an inheritance, took it early, got out there, thought he was going to do something good. He ended up working in the slop pit with pigs. And it had gotten so bad for his life that he considered eating the slop that the pigs were being fed. Now, what does that mean about your life? What does that mean about my life? I think it's 3 key things in that we can all draw from this. Number 1 is that you've been made with a purpose. You have something, a design. You've been made an original. You've been made one of a kind, a mold that's unlike anything else. You have a purpose. But sometimes in life, when we don't know our purpose, we have the tendency to jump out there and do things before our purpose has the opportunity to show us where we really need to go in life. That was my deal. The second thing is that this guy had potential. Potential, I love potential because potential is like bridal energy, man. It's like this kinetic force, this big old nuclear breaker of energy that if you release it in the right way, it can do some great things for your life. But this guy, because he didn't know his purpose, got out there and ruined his potential. And the last thing that I learned from that story was that we all have pathways, ways that we go in life, ways that's been ordained for us to walk in, to accomplish the